Neville Goddard, No Effort, 1964. May I tell you, if we fail, I have come to the conclusion why we fail. We make an effort, and there is no effort. If I really believe all things are possible to the imagination, and someone asks me anything now, I don't care what it is, and it comes within the frame of what I consider my code of honor, my code of decency. Don't ask me to hear that some enemy of yours is dead, because you're asking the wrong party. If you ask me to hear that you have a marvelous job and you're gainfully employed, I can hear that. If you ask me to hear that you are feeling well when you're not feeling well, I can hear that. Don't tell me what the doctor said. I don't care what they said. Don't tell me what it looks like. I don't care what it looks like. Because I can turn to what I really know and put the entire thing in my imagination. And with my imagination, all things are possible. So you receive a request. You do nothing about it. You don't sit down and burst a blood vessel trying to make something work. You simply accepted the request as something accomplished. Accomplishing is done. Why do I know this? Because I've experimented. So we learn the law, how to operate it, how to really move into a place and assume that we are the man that we want to be. Move right into a state without the consent of anyone in this world. Ask no one's permission. If I should really dare to assume that I am what at the moment reason denies, my senses deny, and everything in the world would deny that I could ever attain it. Don't ask anyone's permission. Do you want it? Well, dare to assume it, that you are it, and relax in that assumption, and trust God in His own wonderful way, which is your own wonderful human imagination, to devise means necessary to externalize that state within your world. Well, dare to assume that you are it, and relax in that assumption, and trust in your own wonderful human imagination to devise the means necessary to externalize that state within your world. So tonight you dwell upon it, and see if you can't produce in yourself the emotion of relief when you contemplate a state that you really want. Then use your imagination, which is spiritual sensation, to hear what you would hear after the event, or to see what you would see after the event, just like the child coming home when you hear what you would hear after arrival. But you hear it before she goes out on her date, so that you know, regardless of the seeming delay, she is putting that key in the door. You heard it before she set forth. So tonight, suppose someone asks help of you. Turn the whole conversation around and have them tell you that they've got it. And go to bed relieved, because when they asked it of you, you weren't relieved. That's tension. Now turn the whole conversation around and listen as though they're calling you on the phone and telling you that they have it. No matter what it is, if it's within the code of decency, yes, and then go sound asleep in confidence that He who can do all things has done it. That your imagination, your subconscious mind that can do all things has done it. You simply have to rest your body now, so you're not going to burst any blood vessels trying to make it work. Leave that alone completely. Just simply accept it and then let it work. And may I tell you, it will work like a charm, without getting on your knees, without mumbling any words, without saying any prayers. That's prayer enough. So I know from my own experience, if I use no effort, then it works. Not indifference. I don't mean indifference. I mean no effort. You accept it, and you have such confidence in your imagination, your subconscious mind, that it cannot fail. And you simply accept it and say yes to it, regardless of what was going on with her. I don't care what was wrong with her. Been in that state for the last week, 2 weeks, or a month. It doesn't matter when they call you. They hadn't called you in the interval. At that moment, they despaired, and they called you. They tried this medicine, they tried that practitioner, they tried that one, and suddenly they call you. At that moment, you don't ask them what's wrong. You called me, all right, thank you. At that very moment, you turn the whole thing over to your imagination, without doing anything about it, just turning it over completely to imagination. And they will call you the next day or the next week, or maybe they won't call you. 1 in 10 calls. You're fortunate when 3 in 10 call you. Nevertheless, it doesn't matter whether they call you to confirm it or not. You know it's done, and done it is. Because you aren't trying to work it out in your own irrational mind. You know it is done the very moment you accepted the call and said to them, I will take it. In that very moment, when you completely accepted the whole thing as done. I'm speaking from experience. I know in my own case, I do not sit down and try to work it out. I don't sit down and do anything about it. And from that very telephone call, I'm going right into my living room to discuss some other matter with friends who are present. Last Sunday night, friends were here on their way north, and we had a most delightful evening at home, had dinner. They went off about midnight, and the phone rang when we were just about to go to dinner. Well, that was no time for a long telephone discussion. My wife answered the phone and said, I'm sorry, but I can't call Neville. He's now with his friends, and we're just about to go to dinner. She understood, but she did say what she wanted. Will you please tell him for me that so-and-so is wrong with me, and would he help? Well, she did. She told me. That's all right. We sat down. I didn't give it 1 second thought. We sat down and had dinner, and a heavenly discussion following dinner into the midnight hour. And then today, around 2, the phone rang, and she thanked me profusely. She said, I didn't get to the phone yesterday to call you. I could have done it yesterday because it worked completely as of yesterday. My work is simply to trust my imagination completely. Whenever I go to bed at night, the very last thought, just as I am about to retire, I think of those I would like to help and those who have called upon me for help, and all I do is just think of them. I know my imagination knows before I ask what was asked of me. And so I think of them, and I know exactly what they asked of me. I accept it completely, that it's done. When it's going to be done, I don't know, and how it's going to be done, I still don't know. I only know I think of them, and thinking of them, I know what they asked of me, and that was enough, and go sound asleep, completely oblivious of anything else. If I'm blessed that night with a vision, all to the good, a dream, all to the good, but the next day I don't think, I wonder if it worked. I have complete confidence in my imagination that it worked. Whether they ever tell me or not, I really don't care. I'm not seeking credit. I'm not seeking praise with them. I really don't care. Well, when they do tell me, I can share it with you, and it encourages everyone who comes here to trust imagination. The eternal body of man, trust it, believe it, and see how things work in this world. No matter what you are, what you're planning now to do, see that it comes within the lovely code of decency. We're living in a world where we're really a fellowship. This is a brotherhood. And so I can't do it really to another. I'm doing it to myself. Whenever I seem to do it for another, I'm really doing it for myself. Whenever I seem to do it to another, I'm really doing it to myself. So we are all one, the one sunk in the seeming many. But the many are still one, because one being is sunk in all, and that one being is your own lovely, wonderful human imagination. But now, may I tell you, you can treat it lightly. Don't treat it with effort. Effort would prove to me, were I the being I'm speaking of, that you don't believe in it. If you make an effort would prove to me, were I the being I'm speaking of, that you don't believe in it. If you make an effort, make no effort, and it will work. When you go to bed tonight, really believe in your imagination. I hope you believe in your imagination as I do. It's real, more real than this is real. This is going to vanish. The world is going to vanish. But your imaginative self will never vanish. Then you will get to a point, not a thing will faze you in this world. You will love all. But you'll put no man in this world on a pedestal, not one. The day will come that you will accept no aristocracy, but the aristocracy of spirit, but none whatsoever. You let no one, by his accident of birth, wave some little flag before you to try to make you feel less than. You don't. Allow him all the right to act that way, but you don't respond. You go about your business, simply doing good as you know how to do good, and lift up every being in this world. For we are all one. There aren't two, there's only one. Now let us go into the silence. Good.